Hey there, welcome back to a new episode of the Leading Yourself podcast. I want to start today with something that has happened to me more times than I can count. And maybe you can relate to this. I come up with an idea, I share it, whether it is in a meeting, in a conversation, in a message, in passing, and then I watch it move through the organization. I watch it get discussed, refined, picked up, and implemented. And somewhere between when it left my mouth and when it became a best practice, my name fell off of it. And here's the part that I want you to really hear because this is the part that I think will land differently for you than anything else that I'm going to say today. Part of me didn't care. Part of me genuinely, honestly thought, I know it was my idea. I know what I contributed. That internal knowing, that quiet certainty that I was the one who saw it first, who thought it through, who put the thinking into words, that felt like enough. I told myself that was maturity. That was being secure. That was not needing external validation to know my own worth. But there was another part of me, a part that felt frustrated, quietly upset, that thought that was mine, my thinking, my time, my contribution. And it moved through the organization as it had no author, like it wasn't mine. And those two parts live side by side in me for years. The part that said, I know that is enough, and the part that said, but why doesn't anyone else know? If you have ever felt both of these things at the same time, if you have ever talked yourself out of caring about credit and then felt the sitting of not getting it anyway, I want you to know that is not a contradiction. That is what it feels like to be excellent in an organization that does not automatically reward excellence. Again, welcome to the Leading Yourself podcast. My name is Carolina. If you're new here, I'm a wife, a mom, an HR leader, a coach, and someone who had to unlearn a very expensive habit the hard way. This is week 2 of our May Visibility series, and today we are talking about how to make your work visible without feeling like you're bragging. Because the discomfort is real, and so is the cost of staying quiet. Are you ready? Let's dig in. Welcome to the Leading Yourself podcast. This is your host, Carolina de Arriba. I'm an HR professional, coach, wife, mom, and above all things, a goal-getter. In this podcast, we're going to be digging into all things leadership, professional and career development, habits, and relationships. This is a podcast for those who want to become the best version of themselves, those who have big dreams and are willing to embrace the journey and put in the work to achieve them. My goal is to share with you the tools, tips, and tricks to help you in your journey. So let's dig into today's episode. Before we get into the how, I want to name the why. Because most of us are not staying quiet about our work for no reason. We were taught to. Just keep doing great work. The results will speak for themselves. Have you heard that before? This is one of the most well-intended and most expensive pieces of career advice ever given. I believed it. I operated by it. I put my head down, I delivered, I exceeded expectations, and I generally thought that the quality of my work was its own announcement. And then I watched someone who worked less hard than me, that produced less than me, receive the opportunity that I had been waiting for. Not because they were better, because they were visible, and I was not. That was the day I understood something no one had said to me clearly. Good work is the entry fee. It is not the strategy. Here is the reality of how organizations actually function. Decision makers are busy. They are managing their own priorities, their own pressures, their own visibility challenges. They are not spending their days quietly cataloging the excellent invisible contributions of every person in their team. Which means that if you're not part of the conversation about your own work, if you're not connecting the dots between what you do and what it produces, someone else is defining your contribution, or no one is. And neither of those outcomes are serving you. Good work is necessary, but it is not sufficient. And the sooner we stop treating those as the same thing, the sooner we can build careers that actually match our contributions. So let me come back to my story, because there is more than just the frustration. This happened to me so many times that I eventually stopped being surprised by it. An idea that I shared became a talking point I was not part of, or a framework that I developed became someone else's slide, or a solution that I proposed became a best practice and my name was not attached to it. And every time that split happened inside me, I knew it was mine and that was enough, followed by the quiet, uncomfortable ache of knowing it was not quite enough at all. For a long time, I told myself the first voice was the healthy one, the mature one, the one that meant I had done the internal work, that I was not doing it for the recognition, that I was doing it because it was the right thing to do. And I want to honor that instinct because it comes from something real, the desire to contribute without needing applause. That is not a small thing. That is integrity. But here's what I have come to understand, and I say this with complete compassion because I lived this for a long time. I know it was mine. It is a coping mechanism, and it's costing you. Not because your internal knowing is not real, it is. It's yours. No one can take that from you. But your internal knowing does not build your career. It does not expand your influence. It does not get you to the next opportunity, to the seat at the table, to the recognition that opens the next door. I know it's private. Visibility is public. And when you confuse the two, when you let private knowing substitute for public presence, you pay a price every single time. Here is the other thing that I had to face, honestly. I used to wonder why this keep happening. Like there was something wrong with the organization I was in or with the people around me. But the pattern was me. I switched companies and the same thing keep happening. So it was clearly not a fault of the organization or the people around me. The pattern was mine, not because I was doing anything wrong, but because I was sharing ideas informally in conversations, in meetings, in passing, and then stepping back, not following through, not anchoring my name to my thinking at the moment it would have mattered most. I was generating ideas and releasing them into the world like they had no author. And here is the truth that changed everything for me. If you do not anchor your name to your thinking, no one else is going to do it for you. So let's talk about how to actually do that. Now, before the tactics, because I have several for you, I want to spend just a minute on one thing that trips most people up, even after they intellectually understand the problem. That is the feeling. Even when you know you should claim your work, there is often a physical resistance to it, a cringe, a voice that says, "Who do you think you are? Don't be that person." So here is the reframe that I want you to hold. Bragging is about making yourself look good at the expense of the truth or at the expense of someone else. It is inflation. It is ego. It is performing confidence you do not have about work you did not do. What we're talking about today is not that. What we're talking about is accurate reporting, giving the people who make decisions about your career an honest, current picture of what you have done and what it has produced. Now, here is the 3-question test that I personally use. Is it true? Is it relevant to the person that I'm sharing it with? And does it help them make a better decision about the project, the team, or the opportunity? If yes to all three, it is not bragging. It is professional communication. The discomfort you feel is not a signal that you're doing something wrong. It is a signal that you were taught to be uncomfortable with this, which means you can unlearn it, and you're going to start right now. Here are 5 strategies I want to share with you, concrete, immediately usable, and none of them require you to become a different person. Are you ready for them? Let's go through them. I'm quite excited about this because this is a topic you can tell I'm very passionate about because I've been there. And if you've been there like I have, this is going to be a game changer for you. Okay, the first strategy is anchor your name to your thinking in real time. This is the one I wish I learned before I spent years watching my ideas travel without me. When you share an idea, whether it's in a meeting, in a message, in a conversation, do not just release it, anchor it. In a meeting, you can say, I have been thinking through this for the past week, and here's what I want to propose. Not what if we try, but I have been thinking, here is what I propose. In a follow-up, if the moment passes, a message to your manager that says something like, I want to flag that the idea that came up today around whatever that was, this is something I have been developing. I would love to stay close to see how it evolves. That's a simple way of anchoring your idea to you. You are not accusing anyone. You are not making a scene. You are connecting your name to your thinking, which is the most basic, most essential act of professional visibility. One sentence. Said it calmly, said it clearly, said it like someone who knows what she had contributed. The second strategy, narrate your work while it's happening. Most people share results when a project is done. But by the time it is complete, the decision maker has already moved on. The moment of maximum visibility is not at the end, it's in the middle. A quick message before the big meeting, like, I have been preparing this for 2 weeks, here's what I'm bringing in. Or a status update that does not just say on track, but says on track, and here is the specific thing I navigated this week to keep it that way. You are not interrupting anyone. You are connecting the dots that they cannot connect for themselves because they were not in the room. Strategy number 3, own the room with your report. The language you use matters. The language you use when you talk about your work either claims your work or distances you from it. Let me give you an example. You can say something like, we put together a deck, or I led a development of this presentation. Another example, you can say, the project is done, or you can say, I completed this 2 days ahead of schedule. Here's what I've learned. The second versions are not arrogant. They're accurate. Use I when you did it. Save we for when you actually mean it. I hear these all the time, even in interviews. You ask people questions and all their answers use a we, where it's very difficult to understand what was exactly the role the person played in the story. You want to make sure people know what role you play. What was your personal contribution? The fourth strategy, the weekly wins practice. I love this one. I actually practice it myself and I practice it with my team. What it is very simple. At the end of the week, Friday afternoon or Sunday evening, spend 5 minutes writing down 3 things you did that week that moved something forward. Not a task list, not I attended this meeting. What did you solve? What did you influence? What would have gone differently without you? This does 2 things. One, it trains you to see your own contribution clearly, which is the work we did last week. And second, it gives you a running record to draw from in performance conversations, in one-on-ones, in every moment someone asks, so What have you been working on? You will never again say just a lot of things because you will have it, write it down. You will know exactly what has been your contribution and the impact that you've been making. The last strategy is speak in impact, not activity. The most common mistake when people do talk about their work is that they describe what they did instead of what they produced. You can say, I built a new onboarding process. Okay, so what? Instead, say something like this: I built a new onboarding process that cut ramp time by 3 weeks and reduced early attrition by 20%. Now I'm listening to you. Every piece of work has an impact. Your job is not just to do the work, it's to be able to tell the story of what it was worth. When you speak in impact, you are not bragging. You are giving the people who make decisions about your career the data they need to make good decisions. Now, I want to talk about one specific context that most people completely underuse as a visibility opportunity, and that is the one-on-one meetings with your manager. Most people walk into one-on-ones with a task list, updates, blockers, questions, and then they leave. Here's what I want you to do differently. Once a month, maybe more if you have it, use 5 minutes of that meeting to share something you are proud of. Not a report, not a list, one thing with context and impact. For example, you can say, I wanted to share something before we get into the agenda. I handle whatever the situation was this week, and I'm proud of how I navigated because you explain why. I want you to have visibility into that. You can use that as a script. Let me be clear about something because you probably are thinking this, but you are not asking for a gold star. You're not asking for an applause. You are actually doing your manager a courtesy. You're helping your manager by keeping them informed. As a manager, I can tell you, I value that so much because as a manager, I hold a really critical responsibility to give feedback, to help people grow. At the end of the year, when I sit on a performance review with anyone in my team, I want to know what they've done. I want to know what impact they've created. And as a manager, I don't get to see everything that everyone in my team does. I rely on what they share with me. And a lot of times, if they're not sharing it with me, I just don't know. Every time you share that with your manager, you're equipping your manager to give you better feedback, to be more unbiased in the way he or she evaluates your performance. And you're practicing in a low stakes, trusted environment, the skill of owning your work out loud. I want to challenge you to do this consistently for 3 months. And I guarantee that the next time a conversation about your performance or your next opportunity comes up, your manager will have a very different picture of you than they had before or otherwise. Here is what I want you to sit with this week. You have been doing the work, the real work, the thinking, the solving, the showing up. That is not in question. The question is, are the right people seeing it? Your practice this week is very simple. You know, I always like to give you something you can go and apply. I want you to pick one strategy from today and use it. Just one this week, not someday, right? This week. Anchor your name to an idea. Narrate something in real time. Write down your wins on Friday. One thing. Pick whatever you want. And next week, we're going to go deeper because here is the thing I have not told you yet. Even when you do the internal work of owning your worth, and even when you make your work visible, there is a third piece of this puzzle that most people are still missing. And without it, the first two do not always add up to what you deserve. That is what week 3 is all going to be about. And it is one of my favorite conversations of this whole series. So don't miss it. Now, before we go, I want to come back to where we started the conversation today. Those two voices. The one that says, I know it's mine, and the one that says, but why doesn't anyone else know? I want you to stop making one of those voices wrong. The first voice, the voice that knows your own worth without needing anyone to confirm it, that is a gift. Protect that voice. Build on it. It is the foundation of everything we talked about last week. But the second voice, the one that wants to be known, to be recognized, to have your contributions acknowledged, that voice is not ego. That voice is not weakness. That voice is your career asking you to show up for it. Both voices are right. And from now on, you know what to do with them. If this episode was useful, I want to ask you a favor. Share it with one person, especially the one who has been quietly generating ideas, doing excellent work, and waiting to be noticed. Because he or she needs this today. With that, I hope you have an amazing week ahead, and I can't wait to talk to you again next week here on the Leading Yourself podcast. Okay, my friend, that's all I've got for you today. But before you go, 2 quick reminders. Number 1, if we're not already friends on Instagram, let's get connected. You can find me as Leading Yourself Podcast. Number 2, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am incredibly grateful that you're in this journey with me. I want to leave you with one last thought. I want to remind you that you're destined for more and that every step that you take brings you closer to becoming that best version of yourself. Embrace each day as a chance to learn, grow, and chase your dreams. The world needs you to shine brightly, so go out and show up fully and authentically. Take care, and I'll see you next time.